Welcome back to another episode on the channel. Today's focus point is our 1970 Roadrunner. Alright, so before we get to the main point of this video, which is the wheels, we're going to just look real quick at the front. As you can see, the grills and bezels have been fitted, and Daryl mentioned previously in a video that we got rid of the external molding that goes around the fender and the hood line. So that's all been smoothed out. They are not going to be staying this color. We never mentioned it before, but that is likely going to be color matched to the wheels, which you're going to see in a minute. The only other new thing up front is that we got these new billet hood hinges with hood shocks. It holds the OEM steel hood. I'm not a fan of the stock hood hinges. All the aftermarket ones with the aftermarket springs tend to leave the rear section of the hood nearest the cowl a little bit up. When you go to shut the hood, that spot stays up. As you walk to your driver door, you usually have to press it down to get it to sit back level with the fender. I hate that. I hate it on every car. Hate it. Hate it. They suck. They suck. Still suck. We always end up switching to the billet hood hinges. They are just amazing. Billet hood hinges, completely worth the money. Just start out with those when you're doing panel fitment because it's got plenty of range of adjustment just like the stock hinges do. It's just the right part to go with from the get-go. They're rebuildable, they're serviceable, you can change the bolts, you can change the washers, you can change the bushings. It's a serviceable part. The stock hood hinges are not. Your stock hood hinges. Alright, so enough of the front end of the car and the hinges. Let's go back to the focus point of the car, and it's these new wheels. We ended up choosing a GMR based wheel. It is the model SF7, and this wheel is produced and manufactured by VR Wheels. Jack and the boys over there at the shop, they really hooked it up. We sent them the brake specs, front and rear. We sent them all the schematics of what they needed to get the wheels made that I chose. I chose that big-faced VIP look, as everybody called it, and nobody could see it beforehand. I just knew it was like the perfect fit for this body. I chose an 18x9 -22 front wheel with a 20x11 -18 rear wheel. Now that's why you see such a big rear barrel, and from the get-go we knew on this Roadrunner we wanted a sick looking wheel. We wanted it to really stand out and complement the body. I could envision it when I saw that model wheel that it was going to be a perfect fit for this car. It's got a big face, this car is a big old body, and I mean, would you just look at it? Would you look at that? It looks freaking sick. And we did a brushed tint gunmetal center. We've had this finish of a center on another wheel and it came out amazing. I was like, hey, does your powder coat guy replicate this? And he's like, oh yeah, we can do that, no problem. Came out sick. Like, it's exactly what we wanted. Super wide fitment, and that caused some issues. These are 305s in the rear on the 11-inch wheels, and they just look so perfect. I knew that when we placed them on, we're like, oh shit, this might not work. When we went to go fit them on the car, we found out that the wheel, because of that inner quarter panel skin of the Roadrunner, couldn't travel through the suspension. but Adrian came up with an idea. He's like, hey, we could possibly cut down this angle because the tub goes up and over, but then it comes out diagonally where it meets the outer quarter panel skin. That's our issue. That diagonal section is what's keeping the wheels in motion going up and down in like an even form. Like it immediately makes contact. Adrian came up with an idea of, I can cut this section out of it, make essentially a bolt-on mini tub just to make sure it all clears. He ended up loosening the coilovers completely, put both wheels on it with the 305s that are on the back of these 20 by 11s, and check the whole wheel travel. So with those plates bolted in place, he saw that it was never gonna make contact until the axle is actually gonna make contact on the overframe. So on that spot, we're gonna put a urethane bump stop so it never reaches to that point of contact, and it actually keeps it away like an inch out before it makes contact with either the body or that bump stop. It's all good under there. It's seam sealed. It's gonna be repainted body color in the fender well, so it's gonna look like nothing was ever changed. All right, so the front, like I said, was an 18.9, -22, and that was a little bit of a different issue with fitment. Now, the front fender does have a small brace that we did have to modify. It wasn't a drastic modification like the rear was, so Adrian was able to take care of that in about an hour's time to do both fenders. We did get it aligned to adjust caster front and back. The 265 tire that is on this 9 clearances everything. It doesn't touch anywhere. There's no rubbing on the inner frame. Like we said from the get-go, this was the exact fit that I wanted for the car. I wanted a double staggered setup, and the tires are a 265 with a tall sidewall because we wanted that cushion for the front end. So we don't want that impact when you hit like a small pothole or bumps in the road or anything like that to transmit feedback into the steering wheel like too aggressively. So a cushion tire in the front really helps with that. This should be a nice comfortable ride to cruise in 6th gear on the freeway or just to be ripping around town. Now you'll see that the front wheel does have a Willwood Billet Pro Hub protruding through it. GMR did offer to make a custom center cap, but it was more of an outward cap, and I thought that was going to take away from the look of the wheel because I essentially wanted a flat center cap. Now I knew I wasn't going to be able to do that in the front because of that hub, but it's not an ugly looking piece. So what we're going to do is try to change the tone of that hub and make it a little bit darker charcoal gray with some metal flake in it, and possibly change the sticker in the middle of it to read GMR, because we are getting flat caps for the rear that say GMR, and we're going to go ahead and try to do that to the front hubs as well. All right, so that's going to do it for this episode on the 1970 Roadrunner. The next time you see it, it's going to be a lot more together. The wiring's going to be complete. The taillights will be on it. Front end will be fully put together. And we have this nice, beautiful new interior to show you guys. It's a Japanese styling cues fit into this old style muscle car. Along with the VIP wheels, we chose seats that were originally from an RX-8. They're completely remastered, reupholstered, redesigned. They look absolutely sick. I can't wait to show you guys next time.
Why is it so hot?
That was funny. It was funny.